ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd Podcast.
It's the Herd on ESPN Radio. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline and simulcast on ESPNU. All fired up today, baby. Tomorrow I got to shoot my book cover. So I'm off tomorrow, back Friday. Tomorrow's a big day. I'll keep my shirt on. But we got a good show today. We've really done it. My guys have done a great job in the last week. There's nothing going on right now, but we've had some really interesting shows and interesting guests. Have another good show today, I hope.
And there's another one.
Yeah. Jim Cantore, we're pulling out all the stops. Miley Cyrus getting smoky and breathy, and yeah.
Oh, my God.
So, two things I want to start the show with. I'll get to the A-Rod thing in a second. But this made me laugh. I mean, even in my business, where I see the ratings and I see how the sausage is made, sometimes I can't believe it. Jaw-dropping. So most of you can figure this out. I mean, a lot of guys, I talk business, so you attract what you are. I attract a lot of guys who like business because I talk business on the show a lot. We do a lot of metaphors and analogies, bigger, broader stuff. So a lot of guys that email my show, they like business. They're small business owners. They're in sales. And most of you get that, what I'm about to talk about. But about 25% of you, you got an IQ about the level of ranch dressing. So I got to explain some things to you. And I'm going to explain this one to you. So I'm going to talk slowly for those who don't get this. Most of you do. 8 out of 10 of you do. But I'll get these occasional emails. I got one yesterday from John Robertson. Why don't you talk about the Memphis Grizzlies or Toronto? Those are good teams. Who cares about the Lakers, the Knicks? I get that once in a while. Why do you talk about Duke and Kentucky and Syracuse basketball or Tom Brady and LeBron James and the Patriots and the Cowboys and Ohio State football? Why do you do that? Here's why. The ratings are out for the Lakers and Clippers in Los Angeles. The Lakers rating on Time Warner Cable is virtually double the Clippers rating. Now think about that as far as the power of the brand. The Clippers have 2 stars. Even their ancillary players, J.J. Redick is well known, Jamal Crawford, Jordan. They're 35-19, celebrity head coach, celebrity owner. They face other stars from the West, beating them. They don't have the brand. They've been good for 4 straight years, 60% winning. The Lakers are currently 13-40. Here's the Lakers' most recent starting 5. Ryan Kelly, Tariq Black, Robert Sacre, Jordan Clarkson, who did win American Idol, and Wayne Ellington, who I think at one point in the 50s or 60s played the trumpet. That is their starting 5. And they're getting twice the ratings in Los Angeles of the Clippers. Dude, stars and brands bring you to the table. It's the chocolate cake and sex theory. Even bad chocolate cake and sex, still pretty interesting. Still pretty good. The world, by the way, is now so distracted and divided. If you don't have a brand by now, good luck. Can you imagine opening up a makeup company? Even if you had the best makeup in the world, you'd have to fight through Revlon, Maybelline, L'Oreal, Sephora, CoverGirl. Forget it. Forget it. You're not getting through. Think about college sports. 357 Division I basketball programs, 120 Division I football programs in the last 10 years. Name the only program that's become a brand. Because all the brands are Alabama, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, Kentucky, Duke. They've been brands forever. One, Oregon football. And they've got the smartest marketing visionary in my life, Phil Knight. You think Oregon football, you think fast-paced, zillion uniforms. TCU's good, they're not a brand. I'm talking Virginia Tech's good, they're not a brand. The Clippers have been good for 4 years, celebrities everywhere, stars everywhere, Lakers getting double the ratings. And the Lakers have been bad for several years now. By the way, I went and looked up this morning the top brands in America. Apple, Microsoft, Coke, IBM, McDonald's, General Electric, Samsung. There's 2, quote, new brands in the top 20. Facebook is 18, and Google, which has been around for 16 years, Google is in the top 10. 2 out of 8. All the money, all the marketers, all the brilliant people in strategy in the business world, all of them can't break through. So you know what? The Clippers can't break through in a local market. Hell, the Brooklyn Nets can't get arrested in New York. The Knicks are unwatchable. Brooklyn's got, like, some guys you could want to watch. They can't get a story written about them. And the Knicks are unwatchable. The Knicks are the brand. Always said watching Tiger Woods flame out is more fascinating than virtually anybody being great on the tour. There's a couple exceptions. I think Phil Mickelson winning a big tournament is still really, really cool. That is unbelievable. The Lakers are going to get double the ratings of the Clippers. That's why we talk about Brady and LeBron. 500 stations. It breaks through. What can you say? And, Brady is a great American patriot. That too. All right, let me get to the A-Rod thing. So A-Rod yesterday, who writes in cursive anymore? So he writes this letter. It's handwritten, which, let's not kid ourselves here. He writes a handwritten apology. That makes it seem very authentic, right? He did it. You can picture him as you see this. You can picture him sitting on a couch writing it, right? Like A-Rod's on an old couch, sitting there having a piece of pizza. Dear fans, I take full responsibility for my mistakes. Let's go play ball. Yeah, baseball said they're over this suspension. Players Association supporting me. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to erase that. Anybody got any white out here? Holy smokes. All right. And he wrote the letter. So my first takeaway is, man, who writes in cursive? My second takeaway is he obviously didn't want to have it. He's not going to transcribe this. It come out on an email. He wants you to know he sat down and wrote it. And the media's just tearing him apart. My third takeaway is, so what? Who cares if the media likes him? The media hated Barry Bonds. Ryan Braun. They still get cheered. A-Rod connected with a handful of fans. If he goes 3, 4, 5 in the first weekend, jacks one out, and they win a game because he has a walk-off, he'll be cheered wildly. New York's a smart town, so is San Francisco. But they don't have a great deal of discretion when it comes to athletes. New York sports right now are awful. If A-Rod lights things up, has a good first half, he's back to being beloved. When I was in Portland, a very bright, civic-minded, civil city, J.R. Ryder and Bonzi Wells were creeps. They dropped 22, beat the Lakers, standing up. A-Rod doesn't need the Yankees. He doesn't need the media. The media is going to destroy him for this. And I think it's so clear that he wrote it in cursive to connect with the fans. It even slants a little bit right. Like, it's not even perfect. It kind of slants up. He didn't want it to be perfect. And he writes in cursive, and that's what we used to do in this country. Schools are getting rid of it. He writes in cursive, and I feel bad, and let's go play ball, and he connects to some fans. And if you want to know why guys cheat, they continue to cheat because Ryan Braun, Barry Bonds, Bonzi Wells, they get cheered. The athlete no longer needs the media's approval to be successful. They no longer need the media's high five to be successful. Derek Jeter can write his own book and won't give you access when you write one about it. And, everybody is going to mock A-Rod. Of course A-Rod's inauthentic. Of course he's been a BSer with his stuff. Absolutely. No reasonable fan argues that. But the way he did it, the Yankees wanted to hold a press conference. He's like, no, I'm not going to hold a press conference. I'm going to do it my way. And by the way, as Buster Olney said, it should be noted, the Yankees actually need him. He's going to get a chance to play.
They're going to give him a free and clear shot to show what he can do in spring training because they owe him so much money. They're going to put him in games, and if he hits well, they'll continue to play him. If he doesn't hit well, then at that point, they'll probably have to make their adjustments.
That, to me, yesterday, was the star athlete doing it on his terms, going past the media, going past the Yankees, connecting with fans. That's what this is. That is a letter. The Yankees wanted a presser. Not interested. The media wanted a mea culpa. Not interested. This is the star. We talked about this yesterday and the day before. It is the star American athlete. There's a handful of them now. And A-Rod is polarizing, but he is a star. He is a star. You know what he looks like. You don't know what Brett Gardner looks like, 99% of the country. You know what A-Rod looks like. My late mother, I always said, a superstar, my mom knows who you are. My mom doesn't really know Derek Jeter. My mom knew A-Rod. My mom knew Rodman. My mom knows Brady. My mom knew Manning. My mom knew Favre. My mom knows Kobe. Yesterday, I walked into the house. My daughter plays basketball, a pretty good player. I walk into the house, and here's the power of the brand, connecting these two stories. I walk in, my daughter's 14, and she doesn't have a ball. She's kind of doing that kind of air basketball playing. She does like a crossover dribble, does a fadeaway, and goes, Kobe. I'm like, what? She goes, that's what the kids at school say. She does the crossover. 2-2-2, fall away. Kobe. Power of the brand, stars controlling the message. The world we live in. Heard brought to you by Regis. New way to work. Call 1-800-OFFICES, 1-800-OFFICES. Good stuff. God, the new dog. We got a new dog. Oh, my Lord. Speaking of brands, the 10th biggest, one of the biggest brands in the country is Louis Vuitton. You know what the name of our dog is, don't you? Chewy Vuitton. Hey, go. I didn't name it. I wanted to go Fido. Okay? Maybe, whatever dogs are called. Butch. Something. She went Chewy Vuitton. The thing's as big as an Egg McMuffin. I mean, it's like that big. It flies around the house. Oh, good Lord. I wanted a lab, and I wanted to name it Fido. Just something sloppy. We got a brand muffin running around the house 1,000 miles an hour. Oh, yeah, she took him to Florida. He's already spoiled. Got him JetBlue, seat 1A. Thing's already got an attitude. Chewy Vuitton.
Want more of the herd? The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Okay, all sorts of stuff I want to get to with Mike Mayock. All sorts of good stuff here. The combine starts Friday. I'm off tomorrow, but I'm back Friday. I think sometimes you can make huge mistakes at the combine, but a lot of people like it. Mike Mayock, former NFL player, now at the NFL Network. Jameis Winston hasn't committed to throwing at the combine, Mike. Marcus Mariota has. Do you think it's a good decision for Marcus to throw?
I think it's a good decision anytime a quarterback decides to throw, and it really isn't because they're going to be evaluated, Colin. I mean, Cam Newton threw a few years ago, and he was awful at the combine. But they only throw like 20 balls, and most of the GMs and the coaches, they don't care if it's complete or not. They just want to see how the ball comes out of your hand, how it looks compared to the other guys standing in the same line, and that you're not afraid to do it with the spotlight on you. So I tell quarterbacks all the time, just get out there. Don't worry about wide receivers that you don't know. Just go out there and rip it. You still have your pro day. The coaches and scouts just want to see you're not afraid.
You know, I was saying yesterday, Mike, it's a little bit of a beauty pageant. It worries me when teams go to the combine and they don't have their draft board set because Vernon Golston can look amazing, in underwear. Montana had a noodle arm coming in and Brady didn't look the part. Do you think sometimes that the combine can become a little bit of a dog show and a beauty pageant and teams can be seduced based on just the appearance of the athlete's physique?
The biggest mistakes are made when the measurables outweigh the game tape. And most of the teams that draft well consistently look at this thing as a cross-check. It's a medical cross-check. It's a psychological cross-check because you get to meet the kids. And all the measurables really are just cross-checking the notes you have on that kid. For example, Kevin White's my number one wide receiver from West Virginia. I think he's about a 4.5 flat on tape. If he comes in and runs 4.67, I got to go back and reevaluate that tape. It doesn't mean he's a bad football player, but I got to go see if I saw it the wrong way. It's a cross check, and so I tell people all the time: fast guys run fast, slow guys run slow. It's only a story when the opposite happens.
I like Winston more than Marcus Mariota, but in the history of this league, there's never been a quarterback that we said, he's really immature off the field. It just doesn't work that way with quarterback. I mean, I wouldn't move up for either of these guys. I'd want to sit both for a year or two. Which do you like more if you were the GM and had to choose one?
I've done my evaluations in my first rankings based on tape only. But I put Winston at 1 because of what I can see on tape. However, here's what I'll tell you. I'm disappointed with myself with Johnny Manziel last year. So I'm not disappointed with my film evaluation of him. I'm disappointed that as a fairly conservative individual, I allowed myself to buy into the fact that, he's just a little bit immature and he'll grow up. And I think that's the wrong way to approach it, especially at the quarterback position. So when I get into, with a lot of these teams, the Jameis Winston conversation, and I start to learn more about what really did or didn't happen, I hope that I learned a lesson last year.
Former NFL player, NFL Network's Mike Mayock, who really has as good access as anybody in our business when it comes to the combine, certainly, and the draft. And it's interesting about the draft. You have a column on NFL.com, Mike, about the RG3 trade from 3 years ago, and you think it will affect the draft. How?
Well, I mean, I did a 3-hour press conference the other day where I answered questions. It's not like I went out there and tried to say, hey, somebody asked me about RG3 and that trade, and my point that I was trying to make was with spread quarterbacks and what's going on with that evaluation, and RG3 was one of them. With spread quarterbacks, there's a huge uncertainty out there as to their ability to convert to an NFL-style quarterback.
Yep.
And when you look at what Washington gave up to move up a few spots and get RG3, and then the ramifications since then, I think it's going to make teams more hesitant about trying to be aggressive to move up, especially if you're concerned about a quarterback converting from a spread college quarterback to an NFL quarterback.
You know, it's interesting, Mike. I've been saying this, that since we've gone, I mean, if you look at college football today compared to 15 years ago, the teams just throw the ball more effortlessly than they did 15 years ago. And I'm very reluctant to pay big money to a star receiver in the NFL because it's hard to find great corners. It's hard to find great left tackles or quarterbacks. It seems to me more than ever the draft is supplying a lot of good wide receivers who can play early. Am I wrong on that?
You know what, Colin? That's a great question. And I think what you're seeing is an emerging trend. And I'll give you 3 reasons why. One, these kids are catching the football more often than at any time in the history of football because what you just said is true. It's a pass-first league in Pop Warner, in high school, in college, and then the NFL. Secondly, the advent of that back shoulder throw has made the big wide receiver, the 6'5", 240 Kelvin Benjamin, Mike Evans, they can come in day one of the NFL and be highly productive just because of body type. They separate outside the numbers by body type. They don't even have to run routes. And finally, with the NFL's emphasis on the 5-yard rule, the smaller receivers know that once they can get off that 5-yard area, they can run routes with impunity. So we're getting more players that can catch, and the rules favor it. And I'm with you 100%. I think more and more you're going to see dominant young wide receivers in the NFL.
Mike Mayock, NFL Network. Before we let you go, when you look at this combine and this draft, it's pretty well documented now. It's not very good in the secondary, but is there a position you really like this year?
It's as deep and good at running back as we've seen in a long time. Quality at the top with Gordon and Todd Gurley, depth throughout. I also think, Colin, that for the first time since 2011, we're going to see quality edge rushers come out of this draft. The Dante Fowler, Randy Gregory, Shane Ray. We haven't had a deep edge class since 11 when J.J. Watt, Alden Smith, Robert Quinn, Justin Houston, that whole group, Von Miller. That was by far the best edge group we've seen, and I think we've got a good one this year.
Okay, I'm going to make my prediction, Mike. Here's my crazy prediction. I follow high school recruiting, and I saw a kid a couple years ago on tape named Shaq Thompson, and I'm still a season ticket holder for the Huskies in Seattle, and so I watched him in college. He's an unbelievable athlete, but because he doesn't have a secured position, he will fall in the draft. And my prediction is he'll go to the Seahawks, or he'll go to, like, Pete Carroll will end up getting him late because people will pass. I think he's a fascinating player who will be great in this league, and the rich will get richer. That's my prediction. Am I nuts?
I think you're a little nuts, yeah. The funny thing is I've probably talked to 6 or 8 GMs in the last week. And when his name comes up, a couple guys said, hey, I'm looking at him as a running back. A couple guys, most of them said, well, as a linebacker, he's an unbelievable talent. I happen to think he's a safety. And I think the way the league is going to use him is like Arizona used Deion Buchanan, a first-round pick a year ago, which is he's a strong safety on first down, but in all the sub-packages, he's a dime linebacker. And that's a valuable thing right now. So I've got him as a safety, and I think he's going to go late first round.
Yeah, late first round. You know, one of those great teams like Baltimore, Seattle,
Yep.
they're going to end up getting this kid who is, I've been watching him for 4 years since his last year in high school. He's an unbelievable talent. Mike Mayock at the NFL Network. Always love talking to you, Mike. Thanks so much.
You got it, man.
You're in the Herd, the Thundering Herd podcast.
Welcome back. Heard on ESPN Radio. I got to ask a question before I do this. This topic about Dez Bryant. Somebody's mad that Dez Bryant is once again not getting he's not getting the love. But it's really interesting. And I don't have an answer for this. Kevin Durant is one of the most liked guys in the league. The media likes him. In the last week, this is the second time he's come out to say I'm not a nice guy. So, first of all, he fired back at the media the other day at the at the All-Star game in New York City and said, you guys don't know blank, 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 blank. The only reason I'm talking to you guys is because I have to. And now he tells GQ, when I'm on the court, I'm a total blank hole. I'm a DI blank. If I fall on somebody, I throw them to the ground. I'm not helping them up. I just don't like other teams. Why do I hate these guys? I don't know. It's just how I feel. So Mr. Nice Guy in the last week has twice made a point to go out publicly and say, basically, I'm a bad guy. Why? Is Tom Penn talked about this yesterday. It's interesting because it's very obvious he's going totally off character. Why is Durant now suddenly personality-wise pushing the limits?
I think he needs this kind of edge. I think he needs to be more us against the world. This is a common rallying cry you see from the great ones, and I mean the great ones that go get the trophy and the rings. Think of Isaiah. Think of Kobe. Think of Jordan in the day. I mean, they all rally against the media, against everybody else. The Spurs do it as an organization culturally. So I think Kevin is starting to feel it. He's in his 8th season.
That's the best theory I've heard. 1-888 say ESPN. All right, I got this. I'm saying about Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant has shown an inability to handle his emotions. He came into the league. The Cowboys literally had to put security detail around him. He's a kid. And so the Cowboys now are going to franchise tag him. At least they're saying that's probably what they're going to do, and I believe they should. Because, A, I don't think you can pay a fortune when you have a defense like the Cowboys, and you're not winning the NFC, and that's the game, right? You're not winning it with that defense. It's not even situationally good. At the end of the year, it cost them. They couldn't stop Green Bay when they needed the ball back. New England could make situational stops. Seattle, Green Bay, they couldn't. You got to get better defensively. It's not horrible, but it's got to get better. And so I think they should franchise tag him for that. Don't gobble up too much money, but secondarily, to let him then exhibit how he will act when you don't give him what he wants. Hi, Colin. My name's Anthony from Compton, California. I got a quick question. Why do African-American athletes always have to prove themselves? So for the past 3 or 4 years, Dez has arguably been the best receiver in the NFL. No off-field issues. Oh, yeah, he has. By the way, I've been told by somebody I implicitly trust that if you knew what was going on and they made the media, the press, he wouldn't be in the league. He has been a nightmare for the franchise. So his worst incident involved his mother being called a prostitute. That is not his worst incident. For real? You mean to tell me you have no problem with the Cowboys franchise tagging him, basically saying, we don't know if we want you here for the long term? Yeah, Anthony, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it. If he gave me a stable personality, if I didn't have to put security detail on him, it would be different. I'm not asking you to be the most mature guy in the world. You're a 23-year-old kid. I understand it. You like to go out and party. But Dez Bryant, they can't keep him off the field sometimes. Running on the field during plays. Dude, that could have easily been flagged. He is somebody you have to constantly babysit. Anthony in Compton continues. Well, what if ESPN did this to you? What if it was time for you to get paid? By the way, it is. And ESPN said, you're the best we got, but we're not completely sold on you long term. Well, they could do that. They could. Doesn't mean they wouldn't. But ESPN never pays me exactly what I want. They never give me exactly what I want. 7 private jets. Been begging for that day one. Unlimited soup for free. Don't get that either. Anthony in Compton continues. How would you feel? Great, right? You still don't think you'd be worth a long-term investment? It feels like to me it only happens to African Americans. Anthony in Compton. I would argue the opposite. I would argue Ocho, T.O., Moss, Dez Bryant, despite the fact that they were disruptive, got 4 and 5 chances. I could make the argument it's just the opposite. Moss, completely disruptive. Ocho, T.O., got multiple chances. The reality, Anthony, black or white, it is a talent-based league. The more you have, the more chances you always get. Stanzik, you want to pop in here?
Yeah, Colin, would you pay Rob Gronkowski? He's seen as a partier. He's white. They're both pretty elite at their position. So based on your Dez logic, you'd franchise him and then see how he reacted.
Belichick suffers no fools, as you know. He's moved off everybody. Belichick has to believe deep down, that Gronk is worth it. Now, the numbers show you in the red zone, Gronk is hugely viable.
Same with Dez.
The difference is I've got a franchise that wins its division. We got about 2 years left in Brady. Belichick's a guy you can't second guess. But
Gronk's hardly on the field. Dez doesn't miss games.
What I'm saying is Belichick's shown a history. He'll get rid of everybody. Everybody. And so I don't ever think Belichick talks race. I think Belichick eventually always comes down to what he thinks situationally helps. I think Gronk frustrates the hell out of him. But in the end, the biggest problem with Gronk has been injuries, not his parties. He's great. And you don't have to put security on him. His problem is he had an elbow. Dez, you have to have security around him because he's doing things that get the organization in trouble. Gronk's like, he goes to too many Playboy parties, but the next day he's great. You don't have to babysit him as long as he stays healthy. All right, Marc Stein's coming up next. I got to ask him about this story out of Phoenix. There is an all-star level player that said, I'm no longer going to Phoenix. I want to be a Laker. I want to be a Knick. I want to be a member of the Miami Heat in a second.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
For the record, people saying the difference between Gronk and Dez Bryant. Gronk's a party boy. Dez Bryant has had 6 home police visits. Those are just the ones we know about. I can tell you an NFL source told me within the last year that if the public knew and the league knew about some of the stories with Dez, he wouldn't be in the league. It's a situation where he is a nightmare at times. It's getting better. Gronk likes to go out and go to clubs. It's a big difference. Marc Stein joining us, breaking stories. Here we go. Marc Stein, what is the latest with Carmelo Anthony?
Yeah, we're just reporting now on ESPN.com that Mr. Anthony, as he kind of hinted at us during the All-Star weekend, he is going to be ruled out for the rest of the season. The All-Star game was his last game, and he is headed soon for surgery on that troublesome left knee.
That tells me the Knicks will get the number 1 pick in the draft.
They need it. They need it. The Lakers need it. You can't make any guarantees with that pesky lottery, only 25% chance, even if you have the worst record. But, yes, the Knicks and the Lakers both desperately need a number 1 pick.
Okay, Marc Stein, senior NBA guy. Goran Dragic, nice player for Phoenix, but they've signed Bledsoe to a fat deal. They got that kid Isaiah Thomas that's playing. He wants to be the guy. He's a real player, and it's a guard-wing league now. It's not a center league. The Lakers could use him. The Knicks are trying to get rid of Calderon. They could use him. He said Knicks, Lakers, and Heat. I got to tell you, I think it's a pretty interesting development in this league. What are they telling you?
Well, it's definitely spiced up the trade deadline. People were upset that, oh, man, Rondo went and Jeff Green went and the Cavs made their moves. We got nothing left to talk about. Well, we're going to be talking about Goran Dragic for the next 25-ish hours or how many ever hours are left before the deadline because He was a top 15 player in the league last year.
Yes.
All NBA, third team All NBA. You got to break this down into two groups. You've got the teams Dragic wants to go to.
Lakers,
Knicks, Heat. Don't forget, though, these dice-rolling teams. Your Rockets, your Sacramento Kings. Today, I heard the Boston Celtics are in there. Teams that don't have a firm commitment that Dragic will stay, but have the guts to trade for him anyway. And Boston is particularly interesting because Boston has the assets. We've seen Danny Ainge amass 20 draft picks over the next 4 drafts. You know, he's just got a treasure trove full of draft picks to throw at Phoenix.
Knicks have nothing.
Knicks don't have picks. The Lakers don't have picks. The Heat don't have picks. These teams don't have assets. So it's going to be real interesting to see, does Phoenix do the best deal it can? Does Phoenix turn around and say, you know what? We dare you to leave in the summer. We're going to keep you, Goran Dragic, because remember, whoever has Dragic after Thursday is the only team that can offer him a 5-year deal. And that extra 5th year could be worth $20 million. Now, we saw Dwight Howard walk away from it when he left the Lakers to go to the Rockets, but by and large, players don't walk away from that 5th year and that extra money. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Suns play this because they could go 5 different directions.
Well, they've got the smart kid from Oklahoma City, the rookie. They've got Avery Bradley. If they bring in Goran Dragic, do they move one of those guys?
They could, or they could keep him to flip him in a later trade. But look, Danny Ainge has been trying to get a star. He's been amassing all of these assets,
right? So
the next time a star comes on the market, he's ready to pounce, just like Houston did when Harden was on the market. Houston stockpiled all these assets, jumped on it, and they were able to trade for Harden. 2 days ago, you wouldn't have thought Goran Dragic would be available. Now he is. You have to.
The big story. This is a big development.
It's huge because he's
a real player.
In the East, he's an automatic All-Star. In the West, he wasn't an All-Star because you got 10 great point guards. So it's really going to be fascinating to see how this plays out.
And I've always understood the gutting. You know, we always say on this show, be great or terrible. 15th best team in the league is quicksand in the NBA. Gutting can work, but it can be a slow process, and it really helps if you're a glamour franchise, which there aren't very many. I find it very interesting when you look at the free agent. Let's say Dragic wasn't available. This is why I think this is such a huge story, is that if you look at next year's free agents, LaMarcus probably stays in Portland. Gasol went to high school in Memphis. He's not going anywhere. There's a lot of Wesley Matthews, who I like. But could I argue that Goran Dragic is the most realistic, best player available for the next 12 months?
And not only that, you know, we talk all the time. They have us on SportsCenter all the time asking us, who are the Lakers going to get? Who are the Knicks going to get? And you struggle to come up with names they can get just because, like you said, LaMarcus Aldridge, Marc Gasol are probably out of their reach. Tony Parker already decided to stay in San Antonio. But Dragic wants to go to a big market team. So suddenly the Lakers and the Knicks have something to go for. Now, I'm sure they'll both go after Kevin Love as well, because people think Kevin Love, maybe he leaves Cleveland after 1 year if it doesn't work out. I'm not so sure yet. I'm not ready to say that Kevin Love's not going to stay in Cleveland and give this thing a longer run. But you're right. Dragic, probably for the Lakers and the Knicks, Dragic is the best player that they could conceivably get. Now, the Lakers feel like they're in a strong position here in free agency. So the Lakers might say, why are we giving up assets to trade for him now? We can just get him in the summertime. That's a risk as well. But if the Lakers really get a sense that they are the leader for Dragic, they might just wait.
Let me just throw this. Marc Stein joining us, great reporter, ESPN senior NBA guy. What do you hear behind the scenes who the Lakers want? Of this muddled class, who do they want?
I would imagine they would want Love if they could have their druthers. Everybody wants Marc Gasol because he's such a great defensive
He's not
player.
leaving Memphis.
No, I don't think so either. But if he does, see, when you talk about a Gasol or a Kevin Durant in 2016, or even LaMarcus Aldridge with what Portland's built, if you're going to leave, you don't go to a rebuilding team where you're going to have to, it's going to take you even longer to win. Like, Kevin Durant now is going on these daily rants. I'm sure you saw he just unloaded
Yes.
the GQ now.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to win. And so is Kevin Durant going to go to the Knicks or the Lakers and get farther away from a championship than he is now? I don't think so. But this Dragic development is huge for the Lakers and the Knicks. I mean, they must be thrilled that someone wants to go there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Boston's got just so many draft picks. We've kind of mocked them for having all these draft picks, but like you said, they're ready to pounce. Also, Carmelo is officially out for the season. Great seeing you, Marc.
Thanks for having me.
You're in the Herd, the Thundering Herd podcast.
Oh, it's the Herd on ESPN Radio, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, simulcast on ESPNU. Everybody's all worked up about Dez Bryant, and I've said I would not give him all this money. I would. I want to see what he's like in crisis. I think he needs to grow up. Hopefully he has. And then Dan came on the show and said, well, how come the Patriots gave Gronk a great deal? He is a frat boy. You don't have police involvement 6 different times at Gronk's house. You guys were here. In fact, Stanzik, you were here the day that NFL source told us. You were here, I believe, in this room. Were you not?
I was.
You were in the room when that NFL source told us. And what did that source tell us about Dez Bryant that the public doesn't know?
You said it all show, that if there are some things that this source has heard about Dez Bryant, that if they became public, he probably would never play football again.
Okay. Bad news. You don't hear the stories, folks. You heard about Tiger cheating? He's not the only guy on the tour cheating. There are guys in this league who get in trouble. And then there are guys who take it to a next level. I've always said there's one in every locker room. Every NFL locker room I covered, there was 1 or 2 guys. It's like you just don't want to stay away from them. Dez has had 6 run-ins with the police. Gronk doesn't have issues like that. Gronk goes to nightclubs and is an idiot. But they don't have to worry about Gronk, cops. They didn't have to put security detail on Gronk. And Gronk, by the way, in 3 of 5 years has played every game. He had a reoccurring elbow issue for about 1.5 years. The other thing is, so that's the other thing. The idea that Belichick is favoring Gronk because he's white. Belichick gave Aaron Hernandez a huge contract knowing he was a head case. Now, he didn't know he was going to be accused of a double murder. But Bill Belichick gave Aaron Hernandez a contract knowing he could go sideways. So Bill's all about the metrics and the analytics. Gronk in the red zone's irreplaceable. Also, there is no other player in the league like Gronk. I mean, who's the other guy in the league like Gronk?
I like the snuggle.
Seriously, there's nothing else in the league. There are other.
Yeah, but who's like Dez Bryant?
Calvin Johnson, Julio
All right, let's
Jones.
Look at the numbers. Dez Bryant had 16 touchdown catches last year. Who else did?
Dez Bryant is a wide receiver of which college furnishes you with 20 a year.
They don't give you 20 Dez Bryants a year, though, Colin.
But he is, in the eyes of Belichick, you can't find Gronks anywhere in the draft. He's like J.J. Watt. The difference between Gronk and J.J. Watt and the next player at their position is miles. Odell Beckham will have as good a numbers potentially next year. Odell Beckham's going to be a 15-touchdown guy for the Giants. He's found one last year. The Giants have Victor Cruz. He could be a 9-touchdown guy. There is no other Gronks in the league. So he's harder to replace. His stuff is not criminal that you're worried about. And
yeah, but Dez has never been arrested in the NFL.
Dez has got.
He doesn't miss games like Gronk.
He's got a lot of issues that are way. You don't put security detail on somebody. That's
all right, well, let me say this. I'm more worried about Gronk being on the field than I'm worried about Dez ruining his career.
I'm not. Gronk had a reoccurring elbow. He's other than that, 3 of the 5 years in the league, he plays every game.
Yeah, but Dez plays every year. Gronk had an ACL this year, too.
He has major...
He's like a machine out there. His elbows, his knees.
Ask yourself this. If you were married and you had to put 24/7 security detail on your wife to keep her from cheating, if you had to literally put a private eye on your wife constantly, because what would that tell you about your deep concerns about the relationship? It's not good. They're putting a 24/7 police detail for years on him. That tells you there is stuff going on that we don't know about. And Jerry Jones owns that city. Jerry's probably a few times in that city had to call somebody and, Jerry Jones, love to have you go to a Cowboy game. We could just make that thing disappear now. That'd be okay if we could do that. And it's still constantly in the news. I think Dez is a bigger issue that now, has he gotten better over the last year? They say. But he can be at times out of control on the sideline.
Have you seen Gronk dance?
Yes, it's hysterical.
Let's get Gronk.
That's funny. I don't find him sinister. I find him a frat boy.
Getting Gronky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you think Johnny Manziel's sinister?
I think Johnny Manziel's like, I would never draft him. I think that's a great example. White dude. Johnny Manziel, run for your life. A, the position can have immaturity. B, I think he's got We've seen plenty of pictures. We now know he's in rehab. We have plenty of issues that are –
I don't think the leap from Gronk to Manziel is that big.
I think it's gigantic.
Getting Gronkified.
One guy had to go into rehab. One guy's going to Senior Froggy tonight to get 99-cent wings. I think Gronk – one guy's got a disease potentially, allegedly, potentially. One guy is a frat boy. Gronk's a goofball. He's not sinister. You're not worried about him. You're not calling the cops on him.
I like to snuggle.
Okay, he snuggles.
Gronktastic.
Arguing with kids here, man. You can't see the difference between these guys. Okay.
All I'm saying is a reasonable argument to make. Is race a factor?
So here's the other one. I'm going to put them all down. So the guys we are arguing about are Gronk, Dez, and Manziel. You don't think that Dez and Manziel have much more serious issues than Gronk? Like Manziel's issues and Dez's issues, those are real problems that teams should be worried about. Gronk, he's going dancing tonight.
Yeah, he's going dancing, and he's never on the field.
Oh,
that's
God.
a big issue.
3 of 5 years he's played every game. 3 out of 5 years he's played every game.
So 40% of the time he's hurt. All right, yeah, that's real reliable. Let's give him a long-term contract.
If I had a wooden spoon, I'd hit you right in the forehead right now. I would.
Yeah, it's real tough to replace. A lot of tight ends had as many touchdowns as him this year. No receivers had as many as Dez.
Manziel and Dez, those are much more serious issues.
We don't know what Dez's issues are.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do. We do. Yeah, I'm not, we do know what they are. I'm just not going on the air and saying it.
What, he has parties and the cops show up because the volume's too loud?
Oh, good hell. You think it's that?
Let's get Gronk.
You think it's a party with oh, really? You think he's...
Gronk just parties at other people's homes.
Gee, look at Damien Woody, you're just encouraging him. Gee, this is going sideways fast. You guys are ridiculous. Randy, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Hey, Colin, thanks for taking my call. I listen to you every day, and I usually agree with you. I got to disagree with you on this. I think 9 out of 10 NFL players that get franchised are a little salty and could act childish. I don't think that is the reason not to franchise him. Drew Brees a few years ago, if you remember correctly, he didn't want to take his contract or get franchised, and just because he's a quarterback doesn't mean it's the franchise tag that the players don't like. And I think it could bite him in the butt because if he does show up and he does really well, then they're going to have to pay him more next year. So why not get the contract out of the way now? They don't want to let him go. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, buddy.
Well, fun. Thanks for the call. A, they need help. They need defensive help. B, you won't have to next year give him huge money. This is my argument. Dez is special. Nobody disputes that. But when you look at, go look at Gronk's family. Rock solid. Good background. You don't think that matters? You don't think scouts look at that stuff? Go look at Dez's family. Dez will tell you his dad was a pimp. So you come into this league and you are concerned. Can this kid, with his background, overcome some of that stuff? That's all part of it. That's why they ask those questions. Gronk's family, rock solid. You saw the piece on CBS, HBO, rock solid. So he comes into the league and you're not worried about that stuff. He's a party guy. Belichick says, hey, come on, grow up. Doesn't affect his performance. There's no cops involved. Dez comes into the league, acknowledges dad's a pimp. Comes into the league to have to put 24/7 patrol. Has 6 incidents at home with cops. Those are 2 different stories completely. And also, as I said with Manziel, I'm not taking Manziel to the Dez level, but I told you, Manziel's issues are real issues. Those are not that whole rehab thing. I had the information on this show about that rehab stuff, about his issues. I just didn't have the guts to go with it. I couldn't get a second source, but I had somebody who I trust tell me it is serious and he has real issues. Gronk, nobody says that. He's just a goofball.
I like to snuggle.
As far as nobody likes to be franchise tagged. Nobody, obviously. You don't feel you're getting your money. But if you find out that Dez, with his history, doesn't show up to camp, pouts, sideline tantrums, which I think could ensue, I'm moving off him. I'm moving off him, and I'm okay with it. I'm moving off him. Oh, boy. Damien's coming in. He doesn't agree with me on this. Woo! He's got the haymaker ready. I can't believe rock-solid Damien Woody is going to defend Dez Bryant. This will be fun.
Colin Cowherd.
The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Welcome back to Herd on ESPN Radio. All right, I didn't even want to, during the break, I went to the bathroom. I said, I don't even want to be in the same room with Damien Woody. I want to save this stuff because we usually talk during the breaks and we start laughing. Okay, you're all worked up. Okay, let me reset the story. So Dez Bryant, I think the Cowboys are being brilliant franchise tagging him. I think there are some dangerous things going on. I think if you look at his background, not only as a player off the field in Dallas, the situation he came from in college and his family, it's a little bit of a powder keg. And I think franchise tagging him, see how he reacts. He's obviously a huge talent. And people said, Dan came on and said, what about Gronk? And I said, to me, Gronk, there aren't police issues. When I look at Gronk, I see just a goofball who wants to go to Senior Froggies and drink all night. But with Dez, I see things that really deeply concern me. 6 different times police have been called to his house. So that's why I also think it's harder to replace Gronk than Dez Bryant these days. I don't think the college has given us Gronks. All right. And Damien Woody is just going crazy on this. You are freaking out on this big time.
You don't think there's a racial component to this, to all of this, at all? Honestly, do you think there's a racial component? I mean, listen, Dez Bryant, has he been arrested? Not to my knowledge. I mean, everybody, look at Gronk. Oh, it's just so innocent. It's just Gronk being Gronk. But, we talk about Johnny Manziel. People think, oh, he's Johnny Manziel's a thug or whatever because he's hanging out with Drake, Rick Ross or whatever. And I do think there's a little bit of a –
People think Manziel's a thug?
Like when he hangs around guys like that, they do think there's a thug component to it.
I think he's a party boy. I think he's got a problem with the how do I say this? Well, he went into rehab. I think he's got a little problem with consumption of certain things when he goes out. I don't think he's a thug.
Yeah. Well, listen, Gronk. Everybody that automatically assumes Gronk is just innocent because it's just he does his little spikes and he's partying. But Dez hasn't gotten into trouble, so why all of a sudden you look at his background? Yeah, he had a hard upbringing, but a lot of guys had hard upbringings and they were able to overcome.
Sure.
So I need you right now to help me out with this because I'm missing something.
Because I'm getting a bunch of connected dots. I'm getting tough upbringing, problems at Oklahoma State, problems in Dallas. I watch games and he's running on the field, so I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4.
But now listen to this. We always talk about in football, the best ability is availability. Okay, there's a lot of problem childs in the NFL, correct?
All sports, yeah.
But if I know I got a guy that I can count on every week that's going to come out there and produce every week like Dez Bryant, I can live with the other stuff, knowing that he hasn't been arrested. Gronk, we've seen the forearms. We've seen the ACL. I mean, yes, Gronk is a great player, but at the same time, he's not the most durable of players. Don't you want a guy that's going to be out on the field every week?
It should be noted Dez has been arrested once.
Okay, one time. Okay. I'll give you that. But again, it still goes back to I want a guy that I know that's going to be out there every week. Is Dez out there every week?
He is.
Is he not a difference maker?
No, dude, he's out there every week.
Is he not a difference maker?
Oh, he's terrific.
You don't think Dez Bryant, the player, has helped DeMarco Murray in that offense just by his sheer ability on the outside?
Well, he was there previous years when the offensive line was bad and wasn't helping. I think the key to that franchise is the O-line.
Oh, yeah. Listen, there's no question about it, but Dez is a unique talent. Oh, yeah. I know you pointed out, Odell Beckham Jr. I understand that.
He is a rock star.
Yes, he is. There's no question about it, but I just think there's just too much being put into Dez and these 6 cops coming to the house. Hell, I mean, I've had cops come to my house too.
What for?
And, what? Door fell off one time because my kids was roughhousing and stuff. All types of stuff.
Man, I don't know if I'd re-sign you. That sounds very sinister to me.
But still, we don't know all the particulars behind that.
Time out. Come on. You're saying it's a difference between you calling the cops once and in 2 years he calls them 6 times and is arrested once. That's a little more.
Colin, come on now. Has Dez really been in trouble? Has Dez been in trouble in the league? Be honest. Now, he's been out there. He's been out there every week. He's durable. He's been playing ball. Pay that man.
I'm getting texts. I'm getting texts from people. Okay, you and I think it's interesting because I tend to be outside of quarterback. I'm really tough on quarterbacks and point guards. I am. I'm tough on them.
Right.
Because you got to grow up, get your act together. I don't have time for your issues. So generally speaking, I've said with a Wonderlic, I don't give a rip outside of quarterback. I don't care what a wide receiver gets. And the reason I'm not saying cut Dez. Go pay him $18 million. Don't pay him $40. But you're making it sound like I'm like top ramen for dinner the rest of his life. I just want to give him 18 for a year, not 40 for 4. I don't want to give him.
So what are you going to do after this year? You're going to you tag him. He's going to make 13. Okay, what about the next year? How are we going to do it then?
Let's visit it next year.
So you just want to basically keep giving them 1-year deals.
When you give me these sort of personalities, and I see Dez as much different than Gronk. Same with Johnny Manziel. I think Johnny Manziel and Gronk it is two different ball games. I think his are real issues. I think Gronk just is a big, good-looking kid and likes to go out and occasionally date a porn star. Who doesn't? I think Johnny is in rehab. I think Dez has been arrested. There's 6 cops. I push off guaranteed money as long as I can on those personalities, those type of person. I just keep pushing it off. Here's a year, here's a year, here's a year. Gronk, I don't love it all, but in the marketplace today, I'd give you 3 years.
And plus, we don't know exactly what Gronk has gotten going on. Just because the Dallas Cowboys have kind of aired all the dirty laundry as far as Dez and
you think Gronk. You think Gronk?
Man, listen. Everybody around here assumes Gronk is just this innocent guy. We don't know what's going. We don't know. We truly don't know. We don't know.
Okay, but let's go to Belichick. Belichick gave Aaron Hernandez a long contract and Gronk, which I think tells you he realizes based on Brady, who's not as good throwing the ball over 25 as he is under it. I think Belichick sees tight end for Tom as the difference maker.
Yeah, I think that's why I think Gronk suits the Patriots so well because he dominates between the numbers.
That's why I think Bill give Gronk another one despite the partying, and gave Aaron Hernandez, Latino, all sorts of baggage they knew about. So I think he views them, Brady, Belichick view Gronk as this is really our team, whereas the Cowboys are the best running team. They have the best offensive line. I think they see themselves as multifaceted.
You don't think if you take Dez out of the equation as far as that Dallas offense, you don't think that would make a difference?
If I could first of all, I'm not letting him go. I'm franchising him.
I mean, you're just like, man, you are just totally disrespecting Dez. Like he's some type of slappy or something.
No, I'm saying you got me running him out of town. I'm just giving him 1-year deal. I'm not running him out. Everybody here's like you're getting rid of him. No, I'm just giving him 1 year, not 4.
You're going to have to pay the man at some point, right? I mean, how long are you going to hold his baggage against him? If he balls out next year, are you going, well, let me give you another year because of those 6 house calls from the police, back 5 years ago or whatever.
You're the stable guy, the salt of the earth, and you are defending Dez.
Because, man, we've both said on this show, man, we're pro what?
Getting paid.
Getting paid. I like money. I want other people to get their money.
Yeah, no, we're both kind of bottom line on that.
Yeah.
You think I'm being a little harsh on him this time?
No, listen. I feel like it's a smart business move by the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, if I was in Jerry Jones' shit, I would do the same thing.
I would.
I would. If I'm writing the check, I would.
Oh, look at Turncoat over here.
Yeah, if I'm writing the check, that's a smart business move.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no one said it wasn't smart.
I'm a former player, so of course I want my guy to get paid.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's funny. Well, if I was writing the check, so you get my take, you're just supporting the man. You're supporting the player.
We're always against the man, right? Didn't you say the man is always trying to...
Yeah, I don't like the man either. I don't. Believe me, I don't like the man either. I don't like the man. I've never met him, but I don't like him. All right, get out of here, man.
All right, man.
The Herd.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast.